Hey guys, and welcome back to my Sugar Shoe Part 2 tutorial. To start today's tutorial, we're going to take some thin muslin and we're just going to make little snips in it about an inch apart and just tear it into strips. And when I have a good amount of them, then I'm going to take my strips and I'm going to cut them down till they're about, I don't know, 3 to 6, 5-ish inches. Since I am working on a smaller project, I want to work with smaller pieces. Obviously, if you're using a bigger project, you could get away with bigger pieces. And then I'm going to put on some gloves. And even though Powertex Universal Medium is non-toxic, just for the ease of cleaning up, I'm going to throw some just latex gloves on just to make my life easier. And then of course I'm going to grab my plastic container, always plastic, and I'm going to start with a small amount of my Universal Medium and I'm going to add my strips into it. Now we're going to work those strips around because you want your fabric saturated and completely covered, but you don't want it dripping with product. So you can see I'm massaging it around and kind of scraping the excess off. And then we're also going to use our Universal Medium as our base because it's going to be an adhesive, so everything's going to be rock solid when we're done. And I really wanted this project to kind of have that rumpled ribbon kind of look. So I started trying to pleat my little piece of fabric and kind of get that rumpled ribbon look. Here's a little tip. I did find that I had this silicone, I believe it's a mark making tool, that really kind of helped to maneuver that plastic a little, or that fabric a little bit better than my gloves did. So if you have one of those or you can get a hold of something similar, it comes in super handy if you're wanting to make a little bit more detailed things like ribbon and pleats and that kind of thing. So that just really, really helped. And this process took a little while, so I'm not going to sit here and obviously make you watch the whole thing, but you can kind of get an idea. It was just like the same process over and over, dipping it in the Universal Medium and just kind of working it till I was happy with it on the actual shoe. So I do have this shoe. I have its friend, its partner here as well. I got them at Goodwill. And so I actually had the idea, should I do a partner shoe for it? So I would love to know in the comments what you think the partner shoe would be for my sugar shoe. Is it an evil shoe? Is it a salty, savory shoe? I don't know. What are your thoughts in the comments? I'd love to know what you guys are thinking. So when I'm working on this, I also put that fabric in the middle, and I mainly did that because I wanted, when I started adding paint and other materials, I wanted it to react the same way as the rest of the shoe. So rather than leaving it kind of naked or leaving it just covered in my Universal Medium, I just did the same thing. And you can see this is just good old-fashioned messy, messy fun. I mean, if you like finger painting and paper mache and all that kind of stuff as a kid, this is like grown-up version of that, and it is so much fun to play with. I had a blast working on this. And I don't know if you guys knew, but this is actually my first time using Powertex, this whole project. So it's been a little bit of a learning curve, but it has been super fun. So to add a little bit of different texture, I actually had some, I believe it's just like a trim, it's like a lace trim, that I'm also going to add mainly to the bottom part. When you saw the shoe earlier, it's that orange part, it's kind of the platform part, mainly just to add a little bit different of a texture when I go back in and, you know, add more stuff and add more paint. I just wanted a little bit different of a texture, so it's just a different kind of lace. Just, you know, I'm testing things out, seeing how I like things, and I wanted it to be super easy just to take one big piece and wrap all the way around it, so that's what I did, and that made it the easiest to do. I love the way this turned out. So here's what I had to do to get my pink color. I had to do kind of a DIY of custom colors. So I had just a spray bottle from the Dollar Tree, and this is the red, the white, and the violet of the liquid power. I know it sounds like you say powder, but it's power, girl power. And I'm just kind of DIYing and mixing these colors together until I get the pink that I'm really happy with. I did realize later that I maybe would have been a little less messy and a little easier if I would have used like a small funnel or a little pipette, but you know, I was already there and I was already playing, so it didn't matter. And for whatever reason, the red one is really the only one I kept dribbling everywhere, and I have no idea why. But I just kept adding a little red and a little white and a little purple until I really got the kind of hot pinkish color that I was kind of going for this project. So super fun. I love this idea that you can really customize these into the exact color that you need for whatever project you're working on. And of course, making a giant mess, whatever, we're having fun, right? See, there's my pink. I really love that I can keep playing and keep adding until I get the exact color that I want to use so that it can be exactly what I envision for this project. So now that we have found our perfect pink, let's go paint now. So I actually took this outside just to make things easier to paint. What is absolutely fantastic about using the liquid powers is they actually are meant to be used on your liquid Powertex mediums. So you don't have to wait for those to get to completely dry before you can move on. So you really don't have to stop your creative spirit. They're meant to go on wet surfaces. So I mean, how fabulous is that? We don't have to wait. And for whatever reason, I cannot hold the camera while I am trying to be creative and spray stuff. So you get a tour of my stump and my side yard, but you also get a tour of my lovely pink shoe. I did go back in and fill in those little white spots here and there, but all in all, I was super happy with it, especially for being the first time that I have used it. All right, so let's start putting part 1 and part 2 together. So like we talked about earlier, your universal medium is going to be our adhesive as well as all that fabric stiffener that we were using earlier. So I'm literally just using it as glue and just kind of adding it to the back of all of those yummy little pieces of candy and stuff that we made in part 1, which if you haven't seen part 1 where we made that DIY air dry clay using universal medium and 3D flex, I will definitely leave that in the description below so you guys can check it out. And this is literally just like the fun of let's pile a bunch of candy on, let's have some fun. It did take me a little while, so again, I'm not going to make you watch all of it because we would be here for a very long time, but it was just fun to kind of figure out how like the coloring worked and how like the little piles would look, and you know, how do I get a gummy worm to wrap around it and that kind of stuff. The only thing I will say is I do wish I had the transparent universal medium because it definitely would have made things a little bit easier, and I'm not gonna lie, I could have been a little messier, but you know, I just happened to only have the white, but it still got the job done. I love the way my little lollipops turned out. I mean, they're just adorable, and the fact that I made them myself makes me even happier. So you can see I'm just continuing that same process, just adding some universal medium to the back of my clay pieces that we made, and then also to the surface. Now you do have to hold it for a little bit and just kind of wait till it kind of gets tacky, but then I was super happy with the way this was turning out. Now I didn't want the inside of my shoe to kind of be, I don't know, boring, naked, whatever you want to call it. So I added some of my white universal medium to a squirt bottle, again from the Dollar Tree, so that I could kind of squirt it in the middle of the shoe because I wanted it to kind of represent, I don't know, melting ice cream, frosting, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm taking some beads and kind of placing them in there so that they look like shiny sprinkles. Now, I definitely typically don't do projects that require tweezers, so this was a little weird for me. But I just love the idea that it almost kind of looked like melted ice cream with some sprinkles or frosting or whatever. Anyway, it just went along with my whole sweet sugar shoe. I'm also taking some of them and placing them on my lollipops again, so they'll kind of have that shiny sprinkle kind of look to them. And again, the clear universal, transparent universal would have come in super handy at this point as well. But you know, we work with what we got and we have fun with it. That's all that matters, right? This project was just so much fun. If you got to watch the first video, you know that this was, again, my first time using any of these Powertex products. So I hope you have been able to see just how easy and freeing and fun it is just to kind of work with all of these different products and just do fun and unique things. So the next thing you're going to see me doing is I'm actually going to take some of the Easy Varnish and mix it with a little bit of the Lilac Power Powder. And I'm actually just going to go in and kind of emphasize some of the just emphasize and add some depth. So inside the grooves of my pleats and my ribbons and around some of my little pieces of candy and stuff, I really just want to add a little bit of depth so that things kind of pop a little bit more and have a little bit darker of a color for all of those bright pieces of candy to kind of reflect off of. And I did that kind of all around and just had fun with it, and just like I said, added some deep shadows and that kind of thing to just give it a little more oomph. All right, so let's talk finishing touches. So I didn't film all the finishing touches, but here's a few things that I did to kind of put my shoe over the edge, if you will. I added chunks of pink glass that I got at Hobby Lobby that kind of look like rock candy. And then I also gave the whole project a coat with chunky glitter to give it a little more oomph and a little more sparkle. You'll also see that I added a layer of Easy Varnish to all the candy to give them a little bit more of that kind of glossy candy feel and a little bit of a highlight with some universal medium. So that is my entire project. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a comment and subscribe so that we can see some more amazing Powertex creations in the future. Have an amazing day, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.